Yo, how's everyone doing? Welcome back for some more Forza Horizon 3. Today I'm sharing with you the 2017 Panamera Turbo, and this is the most unique car out of all the cars from the Porsche Car Pack. So I just want to show you this car in the Forzavista, share with you some racing gameplay, and also let you hear the sounds of this car, which are very, very nice. You hear this nice little turbo scream at the lower RPMs, and then at the higher RPMs, this thing basically sounds like a muscle car. It's got a stock V8, as you can see right here, and it's placed in the front of this car. Like I said, this car for the Porsche Car Pack is very, very unique. There's 7 cars in the Porsche Car Pack, but this one just has a lot of characteristics that make it stand out from the other 6 cars. And in terms of looks, this is a 4-door sedan, whereas all the other cars only have 2 doors. And on top of that, this has a glass roof, so it's pretty cool when you drive around, and if you ever crash, it'll start to crack and shatter, and it looks like it's just gonna implode or something, but luckily it never actually does that when you're driving. It just cracks a little bit, and that is pretty much it. But no other car from the Car Pack looks anything like this. And on top of that, wait until you see this spoiler and the way it works. It's actually very cool. I've never seen a spoiler that works quite like this one does, and basically it looks like it's just the trunk or the back end of the car, but it actually opens up and comes out of the car when you hit a certain speed, which is really cool. That's a really cool feature, and you see it actually is part of the trunk. And the other thing is you can sit in the back seats of this car, which is pretty cool. Another cool feature from the Forzavista, and there's just not too many cars in this game where you can do that, so even though it's not a big deal, it's just a cool unique feature that this car has. And overall, this is a pretty good looking car. The only part that looks a little weird to me is the taillights, kind of how they connected them with that line across there in the back, but besides that, this is a very good looking car. Overall, I think this thing looks good. I love the headlights, the stock wheels look really good, and the interior on this thing looks really good as well. But the performance of this car is another unique thing, because there's a lot of things about it that make it very different from the rest of the cars in the Porsche Car Pack, like I mentioned. And the first thing is this car is all-wheel drive. It is the only car from the Porsche Car Pack that is all-wheel drive. On top of that, it is super heavy. This thing weighs about 4,400 pounds, and that's basically 1,000 pounds heavier than most of the other cars. And the other thing I noticed is that this is the only car that has more stock torque than it does stock horsepower, and that makes you think this has to have a very powerful V8 to be putting out all that torque, and it certainly does. This thing launches very well, and that's one thing that may be a little bit surprising because of the weight, but the weight really doesn't matter when you're making all that power and you have all-wheel drive. But the other thing is, this car's braking, you would think, would be absolutely awful and atrocious and just suck because of how heavy this car is, but that really is not the case. The stock braking is pretty decent. It's obviously not amazing, but for how heavy the car is, this car brakes very well. And the other thing is, the acceleration feels pretty good too. The turbo certainly makes the car feel very good, and keep in mind, this is at the very bottom of the S1 class, so this car has a lot of room to be worked around with, and I think the top of the S1 class will be really good. And what I'm kind of thinking is, the car's handling is good, it's not amazing, so put some better tires on it, some wider tires, do the race weight reduction, which reduces almost 1,000 pounds, which is absolutely crazy, and then swap in some twin turbos, and this will give you more power, increase your handling and your grip, and also help with the braking. So I think this thing will be a very effective car at the top of the S1 class, because this thing tops out at over 200 miles per hour stock. The acceleration's good, the launch is really good, the handling is actually pretty unbelievable for how heavy this car is, and then with the race weight reduction, some thicker and grippier tires, I mean, this thing should have a lot of potential. And on top of that, like I mentioned, the braking already isn't all that bad, so overall this is a pretty good car. It's very fun to drive, and I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would because of just how heavy this thing is, and it just feels a little bit bulky when you look at it and when you drive it at first, but when you go to race it, it actually feels pretty agile, and it really surprised me. I might want to tweak around with the gear ratios just a little bit. They feel pretty good, but first and second gear are a little bit too low, and sometimes it was a little bit annoying when I was shifting it. But besides that, this car is pretty cool overall. I mean, it sounds so good. The spoiler is just really cool when you're driving it, and overall, the car performs very well and is very fun to drive. But I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about this Porsche. But as always, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to y'all again very soon. Peace out.